Our series, Show and Tell, will take you inside some of the great libraries, both public and private, to explore books and treasures from Jewish history.
So this is part of a collection of letters that were sent to Rabbi Shlomo Kluger, who was a major rabbi in the mid to late 19th century in Eastern Europe. And we have a number of letters that were sent to him, along with some of his commentaries on Talmud, on some other...
Do you know how the library got Rabbi Shlomo Kluger's writings?
I would have to double check, but I think it came with a large collection of manuscripts that was bought by Sala Baron in 1934.
Beautiful.
That was part of it was a book dealer's entire stock, so he bought everything he had.
Just the full library.
Yeah. It was about 700 manuscripts and was a huge part of the collection that we have today. So these are a series of letters that were sent to him asking rabbinic questions, usually sort of basic. Is this chicken kosher? I don't know if it came with the chicken. Various different kinds of questions. This particular one was interesting to me because it's a letter written by a woman who writes that her husband is insane, or that's how she writes it, that there's something wrong with his mind, and she's writing asking for his help. For this rabbi's help in how to deal with her husband. It's unusual because usually the letters that are written to rabbis are written by men. In this case, I don't know if she actually wrote the letter or if somebody else wrote the letter for her. Women weren't often always literate in Hebrew. It could be that somebody else wrote the letter, but it's not just one time. She writes one letter and then another, and there's sort of this correspondence. We don't have Rabbi Kluger's response to her, but you see here it says Salomon Kluger in Brody, Which is where he lived, and that's how it was addressed. So this was just a very personal story of somebody who was dealing with intense pain and turned to her rabbi for some help with the situation she was dealing with.
Beautiful.
So this is a wonderful little piece. It was a gift given to a mohel in 1824. It actually opens this way. It's a case, and then you pull the book out of the case. It's a lovely binding here. And this is a Sefer Brit Milah. It's called Ot HaBrit, and it includes all of the liturgy for the circumcision. So it starts with the actual text, and then it ends with the grace after meals, the Birkat HaMazon, because there was usually a feast connected to the circumcision. This is handwritten on parchment. So if you look, it's very smooth paper. It's not paper, it's parchment.
This teeny tiny was written. This is all handwritten.
This is all handwritten and hand painted on parchment. You could see how small it got. Mm-hmm. Some of the instructions are in Yiddish.
I'm just noticing these little dots on top that say University Library.
Yes, they make me very sad. We don't do this anymore.
Oh, they used to do that.
They did it so that, it was Columbia University Library.
Gotcha.
They would stamp all their books so that if it was stolen,
they would know
there would be a mark, and you can't remove that
Correct.
without showing a clear removal. So it was to protect against theft. But again, this is something we don't do anymore because we don't like to poke holes in our books. This is just a beautiful piece. So here you have a unicorn and a lion. There's a page with a few pages like this, these openings. Here's the circumcision itself. And you see the man sitting holding the boy, the moel's sort of coming in. I should point out that the torches are because it was before electricity, not because there's like a mob going to burn anybody.
Get the baby.
Yeah. And then when there's a wonderful illustration of a bunch of men, presumably in study. And then it turns to the grace after meals. So here's Jerusalem as it would have been imagined in early 19th century Prague for people who didn't actually see Jerusalem. And then at the very end, after the prayers are done, there's a micrographic image showing Solomon and his other books. So you see Kohelet, Shir HaShirim, which is actually what the text is, and Mishlei. And all of the text that makes up the image is actually the text of Shir Shirim, of Song of Songs.
So I'm fascinated by this because I remember in the mid-90s, this was the rage in all of my parents' generation's living rooms.
Yes.
They would have the teeny tiny print. I thought that started in the 1990s.
No, so it actually started in the 12th or 13th century. Scribes, Hebrew, and it's unique to, it's consistently unique to Jewish texts. It does appear in other texts, but it seems to have originated with Jewish texts.
Creating images from
words. So the earliest ones are actually of the Masorah. So scribes who were writing the Torah actually included, there were two portions of the Masorah. The Masorah is a sort of commentary on the letters, on the cantillation of the Torah, of the Bible. And there's a big one and a small one, essentially, and the small one's in the center in between two columns usually, and the larger one is usually above and below the text in smaller lettering. And some scribes would get quite creative in how they would write those words, since they were writing really small words anyway. And somebody who was looking at the text of a Bible wasn't looking for the commentary, they were looking at the actual text of the Bible. So you have dragons, you have dogs, you have all sorts of scenes of different things made with these scripts, to the point that there were some rabbis who said, like, enough, this is sacred, just like chill out a little bit. And then you have just like tendrils or flowers.
But there's something so moving about the fact that a Jewish expression of creating images with words.
Yes.
I can't get over that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
It's very beautiful.